Not everybody can have access to a full bike shop spec'd workshop in their own home. And if you were to have every single tool that's needed to work on bikes, you're going to need a pretty big space and, more importantly, a really big wallet. But there are some tools or types of tools that we feel are the essentials that everybody should have in their collection. And with these, you can pretty much strip down a bike or do any home maintenance jobs. So here's a rundown of those tools. Probably the number one tool or type of tool that everybody needs is the humble Allen key or hex key. Now, a good set of hex keys means that you can pretty much do any maintenance job on the bike. It is the most important type of bolt head that you find on bikes, and so therefore you need to have certain sizes. Now, most kits go from about a 2mm up to an 8 or a 10mm, but the most important ones are 4, 5 and 6. You can buy them as separates, so obviously you can have separate ones like this. These are really easy to use in the workshop, or you can buy them as part of a multi-tool. And obviously everybody carries multi-tools, so you'll see that you'll have these at all times. So those are the two types that you really should be looking at. If you're going to do things at home, then separates work better. If you want to do something when you're out and about or just have the convenience, then a multi-tool with hex keys on there is an essential. Now, TORX keys are those funny star-shaped tools that you see that a lot more bikes are starting to use. They're a bit of a safer option if you're a bit ham-fisted when it comes to maintenance because they're less likely to round out. And what you'll find is that more and more expensive components tend to come with this type of bolt. The most common size that you find, especially if you use disc brakes, is a T25, but often a kit will have everything from a T10 up to a T30. But T25 is the important one to make sure you've got in your collection. If you're planning on doing lots of maintenance jobs when it comes to looking at your cables, then you'll know the importance of having a good set of cable cutters. So a good set of cable cutters will allow you to cut any type of cable perfectly straight and perfectly accurate, allowing you to make sure that your gears and your brakes are going to be working spot on. Most tend to be sprung loaded, and what you'll find is they have very sharp cutting edges. Some will have then a little tool that you can use to poke the hole back in the cable, just in case it does get squashed a little bit. But the main thing that they do is they cut perfectly straight, and they shouldn't really squash your cables at all. Okay, so this next one isn't technically a proper workshop tool, but you cannot survive without one. You need to make sure you've got a really good track pump if you want to keep your tyres inflated properly. And as anybody has tried to pump up a normal road tyre with a little hand pump, you'll know how hard that can be. A good track pump will make an absolute doddle of the task. When you're swapping tyres and tubes around, then you'll find sometimes that those tyres are very hard to get off. And this is where a good tyre lever comes in. Obviously, if you can avoid using tyre levers, that's the best solution. But if you can't, if you've got a really tight setup, then good tyre levers will help save your fingers and will help save your rims and your tyres themselves. There's loads of good tyre levers out there. The important thing is that they're strong enough and stiff enough to be able to cope with taking the tyres off, but soft enough in terms of not being able to damage any delicate carbon rims or expensive tyres. You can get different styles of tyre levers and some have different widths, so it depends on which style works best for yourself. These are two very common styles, and you'll see that they come in sets. So if you're finding that the tyre is really stubborn, you might need to use more than one to do the job. One of the most important things to do on your bike when it comes to maintenance is to look after your chain, because that is the one bit that can let you down more than anything else. And also, if you use a chain for longer than its life expectancy, you can wear out those expensive chain rings and cassettes. So the next two tools I will recommend are tools that will help you to keep on top of chain maintenance. Number one is a good chain checker. This is a very simple tool that you use to measure how badly worn your chain is. They only cost a few pounds, but can help save you hundreds of pounds if you use it regularly. You literally put it on top of your chain and you can see how much your chain is stretched and how much life is left. So a very, very simple but effective and essential tool, the chain checker. Then if you do need to change your chain, you're going to need one of these, a chain tool. And a chain tool will be the only way that you can cut your new chain down to the correct length, and in most respects to be able to actually connect the chain properly. So you can buy chain tools in different sizes and different shapes. If you're going to use one at home, you want to go for a good workshop one. This will make it a much easier job to do and can be used on several different types of chains, from 6 speed, 7 speed, 8 speed, 9 speed, 10 speed, 11 speed to 12 speed. A good set of screwdrivers is going to help make gear maintenance an absolute doddle. So you're going to need to have a good set of screwdrivers when it comes to adjusting your limit screws, for example. And obviously there's a few other different areas on your bike that you will require these. You can get Phillips screwdrivers and obviously the standard flatheads. And there's also something called a JIS, which is a Japanese industrial standard screwdriver, which Shimano use for their rear derailleurs and for their front derailleurs. But you don't necessarily need to have that, just a very good set of crosshead and flathead screwdrivers. A decent set of pliers is then going to help you with those little fiddly jobs, especially things like cable routing and when it comes to putting cable crimps on the ends of those cables as well. You can get different types of pliers, but our perfect ones to use for bikes are the needle nose pliers. This means you can really get into those tiny little hard to reach places and you can do all of those essential jobs. They can double up as cable cutters as well, so if you've got cable ties or anything else that you want to be able to cut, then a lot of them do have the facility to do that as well. And last but by no means least, probably the set of tools that are the most specific in the entire list. And those are the tools you require to take your cassette off and put a new cassette on. There's two tools that you need. You need a cassette tool and a chain whip. So these are ones we have here. Again, they come in different styles. This is Park Tools version. So rather than a normal type of chain whip, this grips hold of the cassette on both sides and means that you can loosen it without the whole thing spinning. You'll then need one of these little tools here and an adjustable spanner to be able to actually do the job itself. This then is used if you want to put your new cassette back on. You can buy these with handles built in, or as it is like this, a very simple, small, effective tool that you use with a spanner set. So that is the only specific tools on the list, really. Everything else is something that you can use for multiple types of jobs. So there you have it, a simple rundown of the 10 most essential types of tools that every rider needs to have. Now, if I've missed anything out or you think there's another tool that you think is an essential for everybody to have, please put it in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and more importantly, click on that notification button to keep up with our latest releases. But until then, we'll see you soon.